And all day long on the radio, they've been playing
lots of the best music.
This is Eagle 99.3, your community radio station.
Thank you. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. What a great view here on the Ohio River. And there's a place that's right down the street that I know you can win every time you go there, and that's the casino, right?
Yeah, right.
At least it seems that people think that when they get there, and then they find out that's not true. I do also want to introduce one of my assistant coaches who's really, when you talk about somebody from Cincinnati, Kerry grew up here, coached at Coleraine High School, won state championships, and one of the first guys that I wanted to recruit to my staff when I got here was Kerry Combs, because our plan, and to a large degree that's why I'm here today, our plan is to recruit locally. Our business plan from day one was to get into the community, engage our community, and recruit the young men that are in this area. And without Kerry Combs on my staff, we wouldn't be able to do that. And we've been able to make great strides in this area in a very short period of time. That's Kerry Combs right back there. And you know, he's a West Sider, so you know, this is still comfortable for him. I know it's east of in Indiana, but it's west if you use Cincinnati as home base. So he's still a West Sider. But again, from our standpoint at the University of Cincinnati, I really want to talk a little bit about what our plan is and what it has been over the last couple of years. And that is recruitment of the right kind of guys, what I call the RKGs. And RKGs, for us at the University of Cincinnati, were very important, because what we were going to do is that we were going to change the expectation level at the University of Cincinnati, and we were going to do it with the young men that were already on campus. We came in with an attitude and a thought process that we couldn't wait any longer to win. As was talked about just a few minutes ago, there hadn't been a whole lot of winning on Sundays. We know that. And so it was important for us to get out and have success right away. And we did that. In our first year, we won 10 football games. And the next, we won 11. Went to the Orange Bowl for the first time in history of the University of Cincinnati. And we did that by changing the culture within our football program. We set high expectations for our players, not just on the football field. We have a phrase that we talk about every single day with our team, is that we work on winning every day. And to work on winning every day, it's not about what you do on Friday nights or Saturday. It's what you do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, leading up to those games. I knew we were going to be successful because we were working on winning every single day. So Friday nights or Saturdays shouldn't be a concern. You know you're going to be successful if you work on winning. So with the right kind of guys, what does that mean? Well, first and foremost, we want young men that are committed to their education. Let me make it absolutely crystal clear to you. If you don't understand and recognize the value of your education, you won't be part of our football program. You won't be part of a championship football program, because if you're a guy that's cutting class, if you're a guy that doesn't feel good about what you're doing in the classroom, I'm going to tell you, I've been a head coach 19 years. Kathy, I was 7 when I got the job. Right? But 19 years I've been a head coach, and I can tell you, if you don't feel good about what you're doing in the classroom, it carries over to what you're doing outside the classroom, whether it be football or anything else that you do. So first and foremost, it was important that our players understood that if they thought that they were going to get away with just cutting class, showing up late, if they weren't going to be committed to their education, they weren't going to be part of our football program. So from our standpoint, we didn't have to tell anybody that, you know, you need to move on to another school. They cut themselves. Those guys weed themselves out. If they're not committed to their education, and again, listen, I mean, I'm not asking everybody to get a 4.0, but you better go to class, period. Because I think if you go to class, you're going to find a way to get a degree. I know I did at my school. I was not an A student, but I went to class. So I want to make that point absolutely crystal clear relative to commitment. It starts there. I'll tell you, Coach Combs, he does this all the time. Our charge to our assistant coaches, when they go into the school, we don't go run to the football coach. I want to go see the guidance counselor. I want to go see your transcript. And the first thing we look for, how many absences? How many tardies? Because if you're tardy and you're late and you're absent, then how am I going to count on you when you got to beat West Virginia in overtime on the road in front of 65,000? How am I going to trust that you're going to be able to do that if you can't get yourself to class and do those things? So that's important to us. We don't look to find out what your bench press is first. We want to know what kind of student you are and if you're committed to your education. And again, you don't have to be a 4.0 student, but you got to be committed. You also have to be committed to being the best you can be as a student athlete. And today, in what we do, that's a year-round commitment. That's a year-round commitment. You've got to be able to do the things necessary to be the best you can be, especially at the University of Cincinnati. We get an opportunity now to recruit young men that are playing for a BCS championship. That's pretty cool, but it requires a year-round commitment. And that, to play the game of football, is a huge sacrifice. So if hanging out till 2 o'clock in the morning and not doing the right things is the most important thing to you, and that's your priority, well, it's not going to cut it as a football player, because you've got to sacrifice some things. And so that commitment is first and foremost. We want guys that love to play the game. If you're not passionate about what you do, whether it's football or your own business, or if you're on the band, whether it's musical instruments, you got to be passionate about what you do. I love what I do, so I want to be surrounded with people that are passionate about what they do as well. So that commitment is the core where we start in terms of what's the right kind of guy for the University of Cincinnati. You better be committed. Second thing, as I mentioned earlier, you got to care. Look, everybody in our locker room cares about, 1, getting a degree, and 2, winning championships. That's it. That's what they care about. And then they care about the guy next to them because they're in it for the same reasons. And I can tell you this, I knew we were going to win when I knew that our players cared about each other. I didn't say they have to love each other and they got to hang out and they got to do everything together, but they got to care about each other. They got to have a sense and a sense of pride in what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. That's called passion for what you're doing. They got to have some passion, and they got to care about what they're doing. We have a saying that we use all the time when our kids come out to practice, by their demeanor, you know, and these young men here and here got their eyes on me. They're wide-eyed. They're very attentive, and I can tell that their coaches and the people around them have really done a great job with them. But what we look for, our guys, we ask, hey, what are you selling me today? Are you selling me I'm not interested, that I'm tired? You know what I mean. That guy that, you know, has got his head down and he's shuffling his feet and he's not paying attention. For us at practice, you know, we see our guys come out of the locker room, you know, we say right away, hey, what are you selling today? Are you upbeat? Are you positive? Are you excited about what you're doing? And we know how that carries over to the workforce and everything that we do today. Everything is about your demeanor. And so we want our kids to care about what they're doing. If they're disinterested, look, I'll find somebody else. And none of this is about how fast they are or how much weight they bench. It has nothing to do with that. It's the right kind of guys, so they've got to care. They've got to be trusted, and we all know that is a two-way street. But we've got to be able to trust that our players, the guys that we recruit on a day-to-day basis, we can trust them. We can trust that they're going to do the things we ask them to do.
And all day long on the radio they've been playing
Lots of the best music.
This is Eagle 99.3, your community radio station.